Down the avenue on my electric bike, feeling the rhythm of the city. It's like breaking flight. Neon lights flickering as the night unfolds. I'm riding through the darkness, letting my story told. In this urban symphony, I blaze through the street. Pedals pushing forward to the electrified beat.
Alright guys, so welcome back to another episode of Bike Diaries. In this episode, we're going to do a 2,000 mile update. And we're just going to be taking a look at just, some of the upgrades, while minor, just things that are, very relevant to keeping the bike maintained. Just kind of a post-reflection on some of the things that I've changed on the bike. As well as just taking a look at some of the top choices for 2024 in terms of new bikes. If you're in the area of wanting to get a new bike, and or if you're a first-time rider, some of these suggestions are going to be for people who like to build. If you're just stepping into the hobby, if you're looking for utility, if you need a commuter, all of these things are going to be relevant. So just kind of sit back, enjoy a little bit of ride footage, and then we're going to hop right to some of these bikes. Out today, just joyriding. We just hit a little over 2,000 miles, and thought we talk a little bit about some of the upgrades. I have done minor upgrades, nothing too crazy. But still relative upgrades that I think are important for the performance of this bike. Let's see if we can find a spot to actually park and just talk for a second. This is a pretty decent spot here. All right, so so first and foremost, I put a second torque arm on the front tire. So you'll see I obviously have the one here on the left, and then over here I just installed this second one on the right. Hopefully that is apparent. The reason why I put this second torque arm on here is because, well, with this new battery, obviously there's more force being put on the forks. I have been doing a lot of research on some of the risks with, riding around with the front hub. A lot of people who do not reinforce their forks can run into the risk of having the fork bolt fasteners snapping. I've even seen some issues where some of the handlebars around the neck would actually snap. But luckily these are steel, so I did check that. You can just take a magnet, you can check your handlebars to see if they're steel, so I don't have to worry about that. And I will say with the second torque arm on there, I do notice that the acceleration and just the center of gravity feels a little bit more stable. This bike did just hit, let's see if we can get that on camera, probably not, but yep, really hard to see there. Let's see here, 2,038 miles is where we're at right now. So 2,000 miles in. You know, I did a little video summary on this, just in terms of performance feedback and things that I feel were necessary with maintenance. But I just gotta say, overall, big shout out to V-Moto. You know, your tires are solid. I don't get sponsorship for saying any of this, guys, but V-Motos are great tires. In terms of rolling resistance and having a bike that, you know, accelerates fairly well, keeps up with traffic, and I don't feel like there is too much resistance in terms of just that continuous speed, even, you know, taking off of acceleration and just coasting. Great tires, great street tires. The flat out is still working. You know, haven't had a single flat since I got this bike, so really fortunate for that. Again, flat out and V-Moto, excellent combinations. Other than that, yeah, I mean, maintenance wise, I did have to change the kickstand. I did put a new one on there. Batteries are still holding up great, and I hit 44 miles an hour the other day, so that was a new top speed for this bike. I'm gonna leave a shout out to some top 3 selections that I would highly recommend if you are a new rider, and these are like bike selections that I would recommend just for 2024. You know, this is for people who are interested in moped style bikes and want to, you know, make that your first e-bike. So coming in number 1, the first bike on the list of bikes that I would suggest keeping an eye out for and or potentially purchasing this year, I'm going to start off with the Motor Goat V3. This bike actually just came out of nowhere. I want to say honestly, like I think it was January when I first saw an ad for it. You know, the title kind of stood out to me. You know, I thought it was kind of a funny title. But when I started looking at the spec and really paying attention to the chassis on this bike, there's a lot of potential with this. You know, first I have to say, anybody who is familiar with the Super 73 series will notice that this looks like, I think, the RX, possibly even the Brooklyn or something. But it looks like a Super 73, you know. What's relevant about that is the Super 73 has a really great chassis in terms of having an open frame where you can do upgrades. You can put a full-size 72-volt, 80-volt battery setup in here. It's got a nice monoshock, cafe racer style seat, and the ability to mount dual batteries. So you got a mounted 60-volt battery at the top here, and you know, you can obviously put a secondary battery right in the middle here of a larger size and get your dual configuration going on. This bike also does come standard with mag wheels. So, you know, if you're a fan of those, you do get those. And it looks like it does have scrambler style tires. I think these might be 4.5 inch wide tires. So, you know, and this stood out to me because I am a fan of the cafe style. I like 20-inch wheelbase setups for e-bikes. I've gotten kind of, you know, accustomed to that. So highly will recommend this. Now going down, looking at the specs even further here, that rear motor is a direct hub drive. So, you know, the primary difference is, if you're not aware, between the geared hubs versus direct hub, is planetary integration. So the planetary gear system on a hub drive or a geared hub drive, is actually going to give you more torque with lower voltage. That's a benefit. So if you're looking for like hill climbs and things of that nature, the benefit of those geared hubs is that on the lower end you can get up to higher RPMs, with less voltage input. The disadvantage of those are that they tend to be a bit louder. So if noise is an issue for you, you're not a fan of that, you're not gonna like geared hubs. And then also, they are designed to break. They typically come with 9-line gears, so they are designed to fail safely, if that makes any sense. So you do have to like check in on those planetary gears every like 2,000 to 3,000 miles, and then change the gear oil, the gear grease that goes into them. Now, direct hubs or direct drive hubs do not have gear bases, but have purely magnet based rotation. Now, both of these are electric magnet based, but direct drives tend to have they're gearless. So now the benefit of that is they tend to hit higher RPMs, higher speeds. This particular bike can get, from what they're saying, 40 to 50 miles per hour. I've watched a couple of videos on this. I have seen some people easily hit the 47 mile range. I haven't seen the 50-mile range as they claim yet, but that's all relative to environment and rider weight. Number 2, I'm gonna continue to go with the Smart Travel, or Smart Travel, as I think they were trying to describe this bike. I'm not sure why they went with Smart Travel. Funny name. But the point of why I'm still suggesting this bike is, while it does have its cons, in the way of having hard suspension, slightly faulty battery reader, small rotors, as a start out bike, solid welding. I love the welding on this bike. Really clean and thick aluminum tubing for the frame. And that 1200 watt geared hub performs. It might be a little noisy, but it performs, and you can still upgrade this bike, like I've obviously shown that on my channel. And the bike is now on a heavy discount. I paid $16.99, I think it was, when I originally got this bike. So you can now get this at quite a discount, so follow the link in my video description if you'd like to take advantage of that. But this is a good entry-level bike for e-bikes and moped style and cafe racers. If you ride this cafe style, you dip down a little bit, you can get this up to some pretty good speeds right off of just stock. You can hit 34 depending on your weight. You upgrade it, I'm getting 44 miles an hour with the second hub on this. So this is still a good performance bike. I would highly recommend it if you haven't already checked this bike out. Let's see. Third on my list is actually going to be and this is a hard to pronounce name, the Ehora. I guess that's not that hard. The Ehora F201. Funny name, but the reason why I went with this bike, well, for one, I actually might purchase this bike in the future, turn it into a project bike. But I would recommend, again, for the same suggestions and reasons that we just took a look at the Motor Goat, this bike is a great bike because of its frame style. Definitely hitting that cafe look. Even the handlebar setup being slightly pulled forward and dipping down is already getting toward that low profile handlebar setup. Some pretty decent street tires. I would recommend changing them out, if you want to go with some 16-inch motorcycle style tires of your choice. There's a number of choices you can go with, or you can just go with like V-Motos. Some nice V-Moto slicks would be fine, but these are decent tires to start with. Then you've got a large size rotor with front and back. That's a big plus. I'm not sure what size those are, but they look like they might be maybe 180s, possibly in the 200 millimeter range. This has a tube style battery setup similar to the Smart Travel. It's kind of hard to see in this picture, but that frame back here, this frame actually holds the battery. So this actually is a storage compartment. But I'm pretty sure you could figure out a way to open that up to either a battery or a controller when you're actually adding in your upgrades. So
the life of the battery. So, you know, I rarely actually deplete the full battery on my bike. Rarely. So what that means is, you know, I don't use up a full, say, cycle out of that potential 2,000 to 3,000 cycle life on the battery. And that's just because of the way I ride. I e-bike for more hobby and exercise than as a commute necessity. So, you know, I'll probably get 8 to 10 years out of the lifespan of the batteries on this bike. And again, that's just purely because of the way I ride, you know. This Mini Cooper must be a new driver. So yeah, watch your charge cycles. You know, don't store the battery at full charge, and don't ride your bike till it's completely empty. This can kill the battery life. You know, use the 50 method or whatever, you know, just ride it till it's half depleted. If you can actually afford to do that,